For Joanna Morris Spring Cleanup, our first day back in 2024, we started in this furthest bed. Got all of the pine needles and weeds that were starting to pop up and leaves. Really raking through, fluffing thoroughly with the heavy metal rake. Getting things out of the ajuga, which some of it is dying a little bit in the middle. We'll see what comes back, per usual. We did some cutbacks of the lamium, but we could further trim a little deeper down here and really get rid of all of the brown and just let it be green and lush again. So next time I would like to have another go at the lamium, a little bit more thorough. But we really got all the way around to the property line on the edge back there. We did trim down the peony. It was started to have some of that white mildew bit on the end of it from decay. I don't know if that's just because we left a little too much of it over the winter and that was a winter effect, or if that was just something that it's been dealing with, but we got it in good shape and we'll keep an eye on it. So the whole front was completed today. On another note, for issues with plants, we're noticing this spotting amongst the roses over here. This one has it the worst compared to the group of three, and this one is mostly just a vibrant green. So that's something else we're going to keep an eye on. But thoroughly raked, fluffed, weeded, so that the lavender and the bulbs can really pop in this area. Penstemon looking good. The edge of the beds does come a little further than the actual edge line, but we have kept a nice straight line throughout it now, sort of a little bit further out underneath this lavender, and just feels smoother. Trying to be cautious of that line. These were a couple transplants from last year. Looking great, surviving, thriving. We'll be sure to water that throughout the year. And all throughout here, just nice and clean, all the way up to the edge. And now up here at the top of the house by the front door, this was a transplant from last year, or a new plant. It's really not looking too good, but there is some green deeper in, so I think we give it a good trim. We trim all of these as they're looking a little dark on the outside next time, and then water that thoroughly and have it the best chances. Still gonna let these guys grow out. We gave them a trim last fall and they're growing a little bit more, but could grow a little bit further, bushier, before we do anything to them again. Wow, yeah, these dwarf boxwoods are really filling out. Super nice after we trimmed them last fall. Fluffed and weeded and raked this bed all the way to the end. Starting to get a grip on the property again. Raked out the leaves from this area. There were so many still here. Fluffed and weeded and raked all of this area. And notice there's a little bit of root exposure, so we tried to put more soil onto it. Really fluffed deeply in here, looking, pristine as it is with the bulbs coming up. We could trim back these boxwoods, maybe not next time, maybe the time after. It's almost about time to get them back in form, but they're looking quite nice, except this one boxwood and the one on the corner. Both the ones on the corner on this bed are having rough times. Just the shape of them is not very sightly. Not sure if somebody hit it or if it's just always that small, and some dead bits as well. For these two beds, we also did some soil reconstruction and have a very subtle moat along the edge all the way around. It's a little bit deeper around here as it was running right off into the sidewalk. We're really hoping that this is deep enough to allow the water to kind of puddle and sink in and not just build up and run right off as it has been doing, at least for the last 6 months. So really, pushing that soil back over here. And that's an experiment. We'll pick up this piece of plastic. We'll see how that goes. And that's it for the front of Joanna Morris's property. We'll go to the back and see what we did back there today. We did not complete the back like we did the front. This will have to be finished another day, but we did a really nice job on this bed in here, trimming back the lamium, raking out the leaves. This was all covered in snow during our fall cleanup, so there was a lot to get to. Over here was pretty clean. We raked up pine needles, did some weeding, fluffing all along. There's another shot of this bed. And we did raking of this area for leaves and pine needles. It was pretty intense. There's still a little bit you can see in the distance there by the trash bins. And also their window wells filled up with leaves over the winter, even though we cleaned them last time. So that might be another spring cleanup item we want to hit, is their window wells again. But raked and weeded and fluffed all the way down to the corner. And this is one of the magnolias that's not looking too hot. So you can tell the top is pretty barren. This one's also a little sad. This one's doing better. The corner one's doing okay, but that's the saddest. And then we have okay and then sad again. So we'll be watering them and trimming a little bit so that pushes new growth. And then we're going to be trimming the lavender whenever they get a little bigger again too, keeping those in form. So right around here we could do more weeding and raking all the way to the end. We could get in a Scotch moss and be even more delicate with it and pick out items. We cut back the snapdragon. We'll see that pops back. But you can see there's leaves here, this whole cluster of leaves we'll get to next time. And then this bed, just raking, weeding underneath the laurel. We were getting a little bit of water runoff here, so we pushed it back just because there's a sprout right there. But we could push it even further back. Yep. And then this bed needs attention still, with all of the leaves, and we could trim these into shape next time, these boxwoods that are perfectly rotund. They'll be ready next week as well. And that's a wrap up of what we accomplished so far and what we need to complete for spring cleanup here. Thanks.